Knowing the Illuminati and what they're into at the deepest levels running this, I know they're in control of society. They're trying to get greater control. They're not in total control, but they're not in control of themselves. And from what I've read, what I've researched, what I've seen, what a lot of experts have said is that the Illuminati of 50 years ago, 100 years ago, was more focused, more dedicated, more professional. And that there's been blowback, and more careful, I would add, blowback of the drugging and the electromagnetic and this culture of death, and that the highest levels of the elite are becoming more and more decadent, and they don't have a lot of really hardworking people at the top anymore, like David Rockefeller. And that's why we're seeing such crazy GMO getting out and even hurting the elite. Reactors, 9 out of 10 leaking. The elite don't care. You know, they wouldn't let the troops use DU until 1990. Now they let them use it. It's killing them. I mean, they've really gotten a craziness to them now where they're just acting like they want to destroy everything. Is there a method to that madness?
Yes, there is, and you're correct. There's a lot of madness behind it. That's one reason why in their plans, they plan to use technocrats, people that are highly skilled, you know, your scientist who doesn't care who's funding him as long as he has a job to do his research. And these technocrats are going to run the New World Order for them because they're not looking at the bigger picture and thinking, what am I subscribing to? And that goes back to Nazi Germany again. Most of the Gestapo police were not hardcore Nazi party members. Now, eventually, they got integrated into the Nazi party, but even then, the majority of them didn't have their heart in what the Nazi party stood for.
Well, I've read in most of the major mainline German reports, I mean, this isn't propaganda, it's what they themselves wrote. Heinrich Himmler and others, when they would go out and tour a death camp, would vomit and would throw up and not want to see it. Hitler never wanted to look at it either. They just scientifically said, we're going to do this, and then ordered people to do it. And that most of the top Nazis would gag and throw up. But it was all part of acting tough, and they were willing to do it, and they were punching the buttons. I want all you phony environmentalists to know something. Your carbon taxes will kill billions of people on record. Folks, if you look at history, truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, most governments end up going bad, and they start killing a bunch of people. Governments killed 262 mil in non-military related actions in the 20th century, and that's according to multiple universities, University of Hawaii. Others have done big research projects on it. I tried to get the top professor on the subject, and he said that he would do a written request interview, but he is hearing impaired. He's completely deaf, and so he couldn't obviously come on the radio show and talk to us about it, and I do intend to do that for an Infowars.com article, one of the leading democide experts in the world, because no one really knows about this. You know about serial killers. You know about things that you've got a 1 out of 35 million chance, literally. I've looked at it. Now, you've got a 1 out of 3.5 plus million chance every year of dying from a terrorist. It's in the 35 millions to be killed by a serial killer. I mean, you got a better chance of being struck by lightning twice. We've gone through the actuaries. Look it up for yourself. Champagne corks are more dangerous. You know, they kill hundreds a year. Hundreds. I've shot one off before, and it shot up into a thing and knocked a light out. I mean, yeah, it'll hit you in the temple and kill you. It's explosive. You know how dangerous it is when I'm driving to work every day and on a 2-lane road, and there's cars going 70 miles an hour, inches away? And I'm not worried about it because they didn't tell me to be afraid of it. They tell you to be afraid of terrorists. Give your rights up, and they'll take good care of you. It's all a bunch of baloney. Government is the real threat. Government's the real danger. A couple plugs here. If you want to get the amazing book, it's a coffee table book, huge documents, photos. I read this thing, I don't know, 15 years ago and couldn't believe it. And then over the years, so much of what I read in the book, I ended up seeing in the mainstream news later. First person ever said that the House of Windsor isn't even German, but Transylvanian, basically. That's mainstream news now. Turns out Prince Charles is hopping around in the woods of Transylvania part of the time and is into Dracula and all this stuff. That's all in his book. Bloodlines, the Illuminati, Fritz Springmeier, Infowars.com, or 888-253-3139 to call. We also have some combo deals where you can get my films that relate to it along with it. And I'm really excited that we've been promoting ProPure that is heads above any of the competition. Go to Infowars.com, the online video bookstore shopping cart, and you can do a side-by-side against the leading competitor that's, you know, the next best company. And not that it's a bad product, but the ProPure blows it all away. Available at Infowars.com. We've got a discount only for our listeners. We already have it at the lowest price on the gravity-fed filters. We have 10% off on all the water filter products from ProPure when you put in the code WATER. Can't forget that. Infowars.com, WATER. Fritz, we got one more little short segment with you. I look forward to having you back on soon on whatever subject you want to raise next time. But other points you want to get at here.
Okay, building upon the social control, one of the effects of the social control has been to hide a lot of the solutions that would give people hope. The torus is a donut shape, and it's the shape of energy fields like the magnetic field, tornadoes, the galaxy. I would go so far as to say the shape of the universe is a torus. The torus has been used by inventors to create free energy machines, but all of this has been suppressed. Another thing that's been suppressed by their social control, even to the extent of murdering people that come up with these alternative medical solutions. There's a lot of research. There's research into how to reverse the aging process by supporting the telomeres. That's the end of the DNA.
Hold on, I want to hear that. Back in 60 seconds. All right, we're into hour number 3. Dr. Doug Rokke is going to pop in for 2 segments. We're trying to save lives here. They're now saying if you're dying of Fukushima radiation, you're mentally ill. That, guys, that's from 2 days ago. Will you reprint me Paul Watson's article that links to the Japanese news on that for when he joins us? That's another example, and then Max Keiser's coming on, of how the system ridicules you. The Soviets did it. The Nazis did it. They use medical systems as a tyranny. So it's admitted there's radiation poisoning, but because you are trying to get medical help, they're just going to say you're mentally ill. And that's on record. They said we were mentally ill, that there was high levels of radiation, and they got caught lying. So it's another example of that. I want to have you back up in a few weeks to just do an hour on solutions and get into all the suppressed technologies and things. But as you mentioned decades ago, they now admit they can reverse the aging process in insects and rodents and humans. The elites, how far advanced are they technologically from your sources inside the Illuminati that we know? Because it's obvious they've got a breakaway civilization. But what can we prove, Fritz?
Well, I know of cases, and I don't know the reason why it's very selective, but there are selective individuals that are actually living hundreds of years. They're living transgenerational. But this is a very guarded secret, and I don't think I've ever said what I just said publicly, because they're pretty sensitive about that particular issue. So they do have, and actually from what I know, there are things out there to give us healthy lives. We should all be living to at least 100 years old productively. But of course, as you so aptly demonstrate, they keep poisoning us, and they keep taking away our nutrition from our food and from our soil. They're working overtime to try to steal our health, and it seems like our culture is cooperating with that. Again, we have that Gleichschaltung that helped the Nazis carry out their programs and agendas. Yeah, I'd love to be back. Thanks for having me, Alex.
You bet. Get more into the fact that they said that 96% of DNA was junk. Of course, they knew that wasn't the case. It's an antenna. Even mainline science is now saying that. Right. Years ago, they ridiculed the telomeres on the end of the DNA,
And I was really upset because I have faith in God, and I know that he didn't design this body and create something that was worthless in there. And I didn't know what the answer were for the telomeres, but finally three scientists got a Nobel Prize for regressing, they age regressed mice from 80 human years back to 50 human years, showing that the telomeres could be supported, and they discovered what the telomeres were all about. There's other things, stem cell research. I could go on and on about different medical advances, but the general public is not being told about. And I just encourage the listeners, our listeners out there, your listeners are like diamonds in the rough. And I just encourage them to, on their own, start investigating all of the suppressed technology and all these suppressed medical methods that could bring them, help them become self-sufficient in taking care of themselves.
That's right. Get out of the system, and that means mentally start investigating. Don't even believe what we're saying. Just start investigating on your own. Start being wily. Be skeptical. Thank you so much, Fritz Springmeier. Bloodlines, the Illuminati, available at Infowars.com. We'll talk to you soon. Dr. Doug Rokke, straight ahead. All right, Max Keiser's coming up here in about 25 minutes on the incredible MF Global developments that have been unfolding. Corzine caught perjuring multiple witnesses, head of the CME group, stealing billions of dollars, lying about it, and not getting in trouble. We're going to be talking to Max Keiser, who's got inside information on that and more coming up. Now, he's only with us for 2 segments. We appreciate his time, so we'll cut right to the chase. Dr. Doug Rokke is one of the leading depleted uranium experts in the world, literally wrote the book for the Pentagon on DU. He earned his BS in physics at Western Illinois University, followed by his MS and PhD in physics and technology education at University of Illinois. His military career has spanned 4 decades to include combat during Vietnam War and Gulf War I. Doug served as a member of the 3rd U.S. Army Medical Command Nuclear, Biological, Chemical, NBC teaching. He's the granddaddy of most of the modern training today, police kid. Medical Response, a Special Operations Team, 3rd U.S. Army Captured Equipment Project Team, and with the 3rd U.S. Army Depleted Uranium Assessment Team during Gulf War Operation Desert Storm. He was the U.S. Army's Depleted Uranium Project Director for the entire U.S. Army, 94-95. He developed the congressionally mandated education and training materials and wrote U.S. Army Regulation 700-48, U.S. Army PAM 700-48, and U.S. Army Common Task for DU incidents. He has taught nuclear, chemical, biological warfare, hazardous materials, and emergency medicine for over 20 years in both civilian and military personnel. I'm going to have to stop right there. It just goes on and on. The point is, they knew it was deadly and don't use it even up till 1990 and didn't use it. Suddenly they started using it. Now, whenever people are joining the military, I get hateful letters and calls occasionally. People saying, how dare you? There's no radiation. The Army told them or the Marines told them. They wouldn't do that to my boy. I also get letters every week and calls. You've heard them. Yeah, I'm 27, just got lung cancer, kidney failure. It's DU. VA says, take Prozac, I'm mentally ill. Alex, 5 years ago, I could carry a pack 40 miles. Now I can hardly walk. I'm going on dialysis. Dr. Rokke gets these calls every day, and he's the expert. So they've gone from this is deadly, don't use it,